welcome to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him at gods5minutes@gmail.com. Now, here's Ed Wilson with God's 5 Minutes.
Hello, friends. Acts 16:13 reads, "And on the Sabbath we went out of the city by a riverside, where prayer was wont to be made, and we sat down and spake unto the women which resorted thither." One short sentence in a world full of literature of every sort, containing no monumental revelations, no scientific formulas announcing discoveries that can drastically alter our human destiny, and yet they describe the tiny rivulet that became a great rushing torrent and changed the world. At that time and place, it was customary for devout Jews to have their worship on the banks of the waterway nearest their residence, and in great Philippi, that is where the Apostle Paul, with his little body of helpers, went to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ for the first time in Europe. There did not seem in the whole of that city that morning a more completely insignificant knot of people than the little weather-beaten Jew, travel-stained, unimpressive, who slipped out in the early morning and found his way to the quiet little worship beneath the blue sky by the side of the rushing stream, and there talked informally and familiarly to the handful of women. The great men of Philippi would have stared if anyone had said to them, "You'll be forgotten," but two of these women will have their names recorded in the memory of the world forever. Everybody will know Euodia and Syntyche. Your city will be forgotten, but that little Jew and the letter that he will write to this little crowd gathered by his preaching will last forever. The mightiest thing done in Europe that morning was when the apostle sat down by the riverside and spake to the women who resorted thither. The same mistake about what is great and what is trivial in our world is just as easily made. The truth is, there are three requirements for a deed to be great, namely its motive, sphere, and consequences. As to motive, things people do for God are always great. They are great in His heavenly record, and He makes them great according to His plan in this world. The gift of even a cup of cold water in His name has its reward. By contrast, most of what the world's wisdom sees as great gets covered with the dust of centuries and loses its significance. When we lay a gift on God's altar, the altar both enlarges and sanctifies the gift. Thinking of the sphere of our deeds, which is the second factor determining which are great and which are empty, it is apparent that things that touch on the nobler, higher part of our human being are the greatest. Greater than building skyscrapers, inventing better computers, or teaching art, the greatest thing in the world is charity, and the purest form of charity is exercise in drawing needy souls into sweet communion with their Maker. The consequences of a life such as Paul's, filled with its Philippian prison, just as much as his quiet worship with a few devout women, have the power to change the course of history and reshape the culture of continents. The person who speaks a word in kindness that helps to point a soul toward a better and holier human existence, as well as eternal hope, has an eternal benefit. Just as in the case with Lydia and her little riverside prayer meeting group, no one can predict how far the ripples of one gospel message being preached, one soul being saved, may go. Things done for God, things done for the benefit of human souls, things done with consequences that can never be touched by time, after all, are the great things of life. Seen that way, true greatness is found in Christian living. The most significant thing done on this round earth that day was when the little vagabond Jew sat down on the grassy riverbank at a place of prayer and spake unto the women who were there. Friend, don't let the noise and bother of the turbulent world about you distract you from what's truly majestic by drowning it out with the trivial. Stories now told as if they were the very meaning of life are destined to be obliterated, forgotten, while they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. Have you talked to God today?
You have been listening to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him by email at godsfiveminutes@gmail.com. Tune in next time to hear more encouraging thoughts from God's Word on God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson.